The Pitchsider. Pitchside for every game.
Hello and welcome back to the Pitchsider Podcast. We've got a very special episode in store for you today. Unfortunately, Joe is away on holiday, so it's just me today. But hopefully that will suffice. Let's start off with the news. In terms of management decisions, Wolves have sacked their manager and have replaced him with Julian Lopetegui, former Real Madrid manager. He was formerly Sevilla, most recently at Sevilla, where he had done a good job, but in his final couple of months it was pretty dire, particularly in the Champions League, and then he was fired subsequently. You may remember him for being the Spanish manager for a very, very short period of time. He was sacked after revealing that he'd already signed for Real Madrid. So yeah, a little bit of drama around him, but he comes in to replace the outgoing Wolves manager. So it'd be very interesting to see what he does in the Premier League. And also there's been another manager change. West Brom have sacked Steve Bruce, who has pretty much been performing terribly for the club. They sit, I think, 22nd in the Championship. He took over the club when they were almost in the playoffs positions. Actually, I think they might have been in fifth. So yeah, terrible appointment all around. And yeah, he's been sacked by a lot of clubs, Steve Bruce. So I wonder where he'll go next. In terms of signings, Atletico Madrid have re-signed Antoine Griezmann from Barcelona. He was at one point, well, still is actually, the sixth most expensive signing of all time when he joined Barcelona for £108 million 3 years ago. And now he returns back to the club where he signed from. Obviously, he was there on loan previously and only could feature 30 minutes per game, but now they've made the deal permanent. He can play as much as he likes. He's probably had his best time in football playing for Madrid, so it'd be good to see him back at the club in those famous red and white stripes. And some sort of sad news at the moment. Enoch Mwepu, Brighton's Zambian midfielder, has had to retire at age 40? That would be too sad. At age 24 because of a heart condition. I think there's a little bit of shock to everybody about this. He went on a trip with his national team Zambia against Mali, I believe it was, and he fell ill. And then they did some tests on him and it revealed that basically he had some heart condition. So unfortunately he's had to retire at age 24, which is a big loss for Brighton. He was very versatile as a player. Traditionally more defensive midfielder, but could play as like an 8, or as more of a wider player as well. And they bought it for £18 million, so a lot of money lost. But I think the more important thing is looking after his health, and the outcome of which, if he had continued to play on it, if they didn't discover this, probably would have been a lot dire. So yeah, good news in a way that they found out about this, but yeah, sad news for his career. I imagine he'll continue in some capacity at the club, maybe go on as a scout, maybe do his coaching badges, but yeah, all the best to him. Let's take a quick look at the midweek Champions League. Games. On Tuesday, Bayern Munich beat Victoria Pilsen 5-0. Olympique de Marseille beat Sporting 4-1, with red card given to Sporting, to their keeper Adnan. Napoli beat Ajax 6-1. Ajax also served a red card to Tadic. Liverpool beat Rangers 2-0. Club Brugge continued their quite successful start in the Champions League with a 2-0 win against Atletico Madrid. Porto beat Leverkusen 2-0. Leverkusen, of course, got a new manager in Xabi Alonso, so that'll be interesting to see how well he does as the new manager. He's actually got his first win in the league for Leverkusen. I believe it was a 4-0 victory against Schalke, in which Jeremy Frimpong got 2 goals, the former Celtic fullback. Also on the Tuesday, Frankfurt drew with Tottenham 0-0. Inter beat Barcelona 1-0. And on the Wednesday, Red Bull Salzburg beat Zagreb 1-0. Leipzig beat Celtic 3-1. Chelsea came to a 3-0 victory against Milan. Real Madrid beat Shakhtar Donetsk 2-1. City triumphed against Copenhagen 5-0. Borussia Dortmund beat Sevilla 4-1. Juventus beat Maccabi Haifa 3-1. And in the Benfica PSG game, it was a 1-1 draw. And also we had the Europa League games on Thursday, of course. Some notable games were United just about managing to beat Omonia Nicosia 3-2. Monaco beating Trabzonspor 3-1. Arsenal beating Bodo Glimt 3-0. Real Betis defeating Roma 2-1. And Freiburg, my German team, beat Nantes 2-0. Quite dominant display. So yeah, quite a decent week of football in general. A few upsets. I think mainly the Napoli beating Ajax 6-1 was quite an emphatic win that nobody really expected. Ajax usually are quite good in this competition. Everybody remembers getting to the semi-finals not too long ago. But this year they've been no match. And Napoli actually have been pretty phenomenal in all counts. They've rejuvenated their squad quite well. After leaving or letting Insigne go, Mertens go, they brought in a lot of top players, namely Kvaratskhelia and Raspadori, and also Simeone's son. All of them have done pretty well so far in this competition. I think the major one is PSG not beating Benfica. I think a lot of people had that certain as a victory for the Parisian club, but Benfica played actually quite well, and I don't think there was much quality from PSG in terms of finishing. The front three weren't performing as one would expect them to, with the firepower they have and the capabilities they have. But yeah, they come together in the next leg, so that'll be an interesting match, which would be in Paris. So yeah, interesting one for sure. And Chelsea beating Milan 3-0. I feel like that's slightly, making it look like it was a better result for Chelsea than it was. I think Milan played really poorly. A lot of the errors did come from the defence. Didn't help though that they were missing Hernandez. Theo Hernandez, who's one of their best players, and also Mike Magan. They're both Frenchmen, play really well for the club and vital to the team. I know Hernandez will definitely be back for Milan. I'm not sure about Magan though. That'll be an interesting one. But we can turn our eyes to the weekend fixtures. In the Premier League, Bournemouth beat Leicester 2-1. Wolves lost 3-0 to Chelsea. City beat Southampton 4-0. Newcastle beat Brentford 5-1. Tottenham beat Brighton 1-0. On Sunday in the Premier League, Palace beat Leeds 2-1. West Ham beat Fulham 3-1. Fulham beat Liverpool 3-2. Arsenal beat Liverpool 3-2. And United beat Everton 2-1. I think the standout game from the weekend in the Premier League was the Arsenal game. Scoring so early in the first minute for Arsenal was a bit of a surprise. We know that Liverpool's defence is not really performing how it should be this season. A lot of criticism going to Alexander-Arnold and Van Dijk. And it's a bit of a culture shock maybe to Liverpool fans seeing their team not doing so well at the moment. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe a big window. They definitely need to bring in a new midfielder. They're a little bit light in that position at the moment. But Arsenal in general are pretty phenomenal. Jesus is a great signing for them, £50 million, but he's been the cherry on the top of the cake for them. Really makes them into a deadly team. And throughout the whole team, they've got quality, and they sit at the moment 1 point into the lead, above City. So it'll be interesting watching the rest of the season. I don't know how far Arsenal can go in top place. If they get an injury to one of the major players, it might be, real question marks about if they could win. But I don't know. With City, they do have the squad depth, so they've got that. But as it stands, Arsenal do lead. I do feel a lot of people are wishing them to win the title, especially after City's more recent dominance. So that'll be one to watch out for sure. In the Bundesliga, some things to note. Obviously, Bayer Leverkusen beat Schalke 4-0. Leipzig drew 1-0. I think the game of the weekend in the Bundesliga was the 2-2 draw, Borussia Dortmund against Bayern Munich. Munich were 2-0 up, and then two players of Dortmund stood up. Young Mukoku, who's 17 years old, scored for them, and also Anthony Modeste, who was a late signing in the window. He came in to replace Haller, scored a goal for them. Kingsley Coman got sent off for a double yellow. The second one was for taking down, I think it was Adeyemi, who was running through, not really on goal, it was near the halfway line, but yeah, it was sort of a needless challenge, so he got sent off, and yeah, makes the title chase really interesting in the Bundesliga for the first time in a while. I know it's early days, but as it stands, Union Berlin won 1-0 against Stuttgart, and they remained in first place, 20 points. Freiburg in second at 18 points. Then it's Bayern Munich with 16, Dortmund with 16, and Werder Bremen, newly promoted, in fifth place with 15 points. So yeah, definitely an interesting league to watch out for. Gladbach also had a good game, winning 5-2 against Cologne, and they sit in fifth place as well, sixth place, sorry, but level on points. In La Liga, Valladolid drew with Real Betis 0-0. Cadiz drew with Espanyol 2-2. Villarreal lost 1-0 to Sociedad. Barcelona beat Celta de Vigo 1-0. And on the other day, Almeria beat Vallecano 3-1. Atletico Madrid beat Girona 2-1. Sevilla drew Bilbao 1-0. Madrid beat Getafe 1-0. As it stands on the table, Barcelona and Real Madrid are level on points, 22 points each. Barcelona have the greater goal difference though, and therefore in first place. Bilbao are in third, 16. Madrid are in fourth with 16. So it looks like it's a two-horse race, but third place and fourth place, the Champions League spots are very well up for grabs. Quite a few teams in and around the running, so it'll be one to watch out for sure. In Serie A, Inter Milan beat Sassuolo 2-1, 2 goals from Checo. Milan beat Juventus, coming back from that 3-0 defeat to Chelsea. Big game this. Juventus played pretty poorly, and it's kind of shocking how Allegri has not been sacked yet, because he's been performing woefully for the club. Maybe it's a case that he's a little bit too expensive and they're not sure who else they can bring in, but the way they're playing in that 4-4-2 system is really uninspiring, and they brought in Dusan Vlahovic for quite a big amount of money, and he's not getting the service he needs to score the goals. So yeah, it doesn't look great for Juventus at the moment. Elsewhere, Bologna drew with Sampdoria 1-0, and on the Sunday, Torino drew with Empoli 1-0. Newly promoted Monza, who are owned by Berlusconi, beat Spezia 2-0. Salernitana beat Hellas Verona 2-1. Salernitana is, of course, Ribéry's team, but Ribéry is now retired. It's just been announced. So, yeah, one of the legends has bowed out of the game. So, yeah, interesting one. He had definitely a great career, particularly at Bayern Munich. He was there for 11 years and had a great partnership with Robben, as we all remember. Udinese drew 2-2 with Atalanta in a very interesting game. Ademola Lookman scored for Atalanta, Delafelu for Udinese. But two teams that have been looking to reach the Champions League spots in Serie A this year. Napoli continued their goal-scoring dominance in a 4-1 victory against Cremonese. Simeone scored again in this game. And Roma beat Lecce 2-1. As the table stands, Napoli lead with 23 points. Atalanta second with 21. Milan third with 20. Udinese, bit of a surprise shock, are in fourth place with 20 points. They've had a great year so far. Roma in fifth with 19. Lazio sixth with 18. Inter seventh with 15. And Juve eighth with 13. So still quite close. But you can see a certain pack slightly moving away. The people who you think would be near are up the league. Inter and Juve, well, more Inter I guess, have not been performing too well, quite inconsistent. Maybe the Champions League has been a little bit of an issue for them. You can't really say the same for Napoli though, and Milan, who have been pretty exceptional in Serie A this year. And in terms of Liga, if anybody cares about that, PSG lost. Well, I guess it's a loss in their book. They drew 0-0. Ramos got sent off. They looked really poor in this game, actually. They only started Mbappe out of the trio. Carlos Soler and Pablo Sarabia, the Spanish number 10s, played for them. And yeah, it wasn't a great game for them. Stade Rennes almost won actually the game. So yeah, interesting one. But in the league, PSG still lead after 10 games. They've got 26 points. Lorient second though, on 25 points, only 1 point behind. Marseille, who had a pretty interesting window and bought some nice players, sitting third with 23 points. And Racing Club de Lens, who, if you don't know, play really nice football actually, and they buy players on the cheap and make them into absolute animals. If you're into football, it's definitely a team to look out for. They sit in fourth with 21 points, and Monaco in fifth with 20 points. I think that wraps up the games for the weekend. It is Monday today, and at the moment, Fiorentina are about to play Lazio, so that'll be an interesting game in Serie A. And in the Premier League, Nottingham Forest are playing Aston Villa. In La Liga, Elche are playing Mallorca. So, yeah, not really title contenders in any of those games. But, yeah, interesting to see the outcome of which. And, of course, throughout the week, there'll be Champions League games. The reverse fixtures of what's happened in the previous week. So we can imagine quite a few heavy goal line score lines. Namely, Man City against Copenhagen was 5-0. Maybe they could better that in the next leg. So yeah, it'd be interesting to watch out for those games. And we'll definitely be reporting on what is to come next week. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to seeing you next week on the Pitchsider. Goodbye.